Let's change gears now. The Madlanga Commission expected to ramp up testimonies in its second phase, where implicated persons will respond to allegations leveled against them. In the coming days, rebuttals are expected from Minister on Special Leave, Senzo Mchunu, suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Julius Muanazi, and suspended Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibia. Our senior politics reporter, Zianda Ngobo, is in studio with me tonight. Zianda, let me throw to you first. What can we expect? Perhaps a look back at what has happened, but throw forward to what we might be in for this week.
Well, Toli, I can tell you that the Commission spokesperson, Jeremy Michaels, has confirmed that they'll be wrapping up the public hearings by this Friday, the 5th of December. I'm Zianda Ngobo, and this is your roundup of the testimony at the Madlanga inquiry. So the fact-finding body has heard from several witnesses, from the current to former EMPD officials, about how alleged criminal underworld boss Vusimuzi Kat Matlala allegedly influenced officials in the metro. Muanazi, who was suspended earlier this month, has been described as a rogue element who's directly involved in criminal activities such as truck hijackings, copper theft, and being an accessory to murder. From making around 55 irregular appointments within a space of 3 months without his boss's knowledge, to allegedly refusing to be vetted for the requisite security clearance and entering into unlawful memoranda of understanding with Matlala's security company, these are just some of the allegations Muanazi will have to respond to. But despite also facing these damning claims against him, including an adverse IPID report in 2023, Muanazi was also said to have received political protection from the Ekurhuleni city manager, Dr. Imogen Mashazi. And so Mashazi, we understand, Oli, is expected to testify at the Commission on Monday.
Brigadier Muanazi, with the support of the city manager, that is Dr. Imogen Mashazi, has over the years brazenly disregarded my authority as the Chief of Police of EMPD. Julius, as a Deputy Chief, was always appointed to act as a Chief of Police whenever I'm absent or on leave. Meanwhile, there were other senior Deputy Chief of Police who could have been considered to act. Julius was appointed on the 1st of December 2023. So he was still new to can resume even the processes of overseeing the running of the recruitment process in the department. All my attempts to discipline Brigadier Muanazi were frustrated by the city manager, Dr. Imogen Mashazi, the HOD Human Resource, that is Linda Klasheka, and HOD Legal Services, that is Advocate Bihare. In fact, these attempts led me to be suspended on numerous occasions, culminating in disciplinary charges for alleged sexual harassment being leveled against me in November 2024.
Was also Witness D's testimony that put the proverbial nail in Muanazi's coffin. The brief but sensational testimony unpacked how civilians allegedly pose as cops, the disposing of a body in a river, right through to a blue light hijacking group that's been wreaking havoc in the province. So Witness D explained how this particular suspect was murdered, and it was Muanazi who allegedly instructed them to dispose of the body.
I noticed behind the Pretoria, the suspect with a plastic bag with the two SAPS Brockpan members assisting him from the right-hand side of the double bed. Tubing is where a plastic bag gets placed over or gets placed over a person's head, and that person gets suffocated to the point that he talks or cannot breathe, no longer breathe, and then obviously that we will, or they would obviously then ask him to talk to us, before, obviously to avoid this from taking place again. I entered the room and sat next to the suspect on the left-hand side of the bed. When Leandre stopped, I asked the suspect to tell me where the stolen stock was being kept. The suspect replied that he will show us. I picked up a wooden table leg that was broken from inside the room, held his legs down with it as to not touch him with my hands as he was wet. Leandre then continued tubing in with the one unknown Brakpan SAPS member, helping to hold him down, while the other was searching the drawers, etc. I got up and left the room. The other people were still searching the room. It was quite clear, or the house, my apologies, commissioners. It was quite clear at this stage that the stock from Uwera's robbery was not in the house. As I entered the passage towards the kitchen, I saw one EMPD officer taking a bucket of water to the room where the suspect was being kept.
Meanwhile, Xoli, when it comes to Senzo Mchunu, who we understand will appear on Tuesday, he has faced several allegations of political interference and being unduly influenced to disband the PKTT. So you'll recall the project lead of the Political Killings Task Team and Crime Intelligence boss, Dumsani Kumalo, also told the Commission in October and November about his fraught relationship with suspended Deputy Police Commissioner Shedrick Sibia. Now, he told the inquiry that they butted heads over the filling of posts within crime intelligence.
I did it on the first batch of posts. Then the line of communicating that proposal, I'll send it to the immediate supervisor, the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, for his support of the proposed panel, who will then sign it off and process it further to the Division Human Resource Management for approval in consultation with the National Commissioner. So my proposal for the panel for the first batch then was not supported by the Deputy National Commissioner. Instead, then he proposed his own panel, of which then he had to do it in consultation with myself. And then I then did not agree with his set of panel, and then there was then that stalemate.
Ziana Ngcobo, thank you very much indeed. And you don't get to run away because we are going to stay here with you. Let's join into this conversation. Policing and global security specialist Aldred de Klerk. He is in studio with us tonight. And also my colleague, senior politics reporter Ziana Ngcobo. To both of you, my thanks for doing this. It's such important work, especially ahead of such a hectic week it appears we're going into, Zianda. Police Minister, the one on special leave, Senzo Mchunu. So he goes into the Madlanga inquiry this week. The key question for him, what do you anticipate that to be? Is that to do with the PKTT?
Everything is about the Political Killings Task Team, and which subsequently became about those 121 dockets. But who influenced him, if at all, to disband the Political Killings Task Team? Why was there seemingly such a rush to disband this Political Killings Task Team when, if you listen to the other South African Police Service testimonies, there are several other Political Killings Task Team? Was it really about budget? Was it really about value? You'll recall in his letter on the 31st of December, he said the task team was no longer adding value. But even more importantly, the name that South Africans have consistently heard, whether at the Madlanga Commission or at the ad hoc committee, Vusmuzi Kat Matlala, Did he fund his so-called people because of his presidential ambitions to attend the annual January 8th statement? What is Senzo Mkunu's relationship, if there's any at all, with Brown Mokgotsi? So Senzo Mkunu is going to be a very central figure in the Commission of Inquiry being able to put the pieces together, given the deadline that it has to have by the latest, and the Gazette was released last week by the President. That interim report must be on his desk by the latest, the 17th of December. Only we're in phase 2, where everyone gets to respond to the allegations made against them. And I've been reliably told that actually Senzo Mkunu has not yet, last time I checked was in the afternoon, he's not yet submitted his witness statement. He's due to appear on Tuesday, and this was due 3 weeks ago. So we'll see how this week actually unfolds, but it will be very important to hear from Senzo Mkunu at the Madlanga Commission.
Aldred de Klerk, let's bring you into the conversation. I want to borrow from Zianda, who says the timelines of this disbanding of the PKTT. I think based on the cross-examination, not the evidence in chief, the cross-examination of Brown Mokgotsi, I think it gave us a little bit more than what we probably anticipated in terms of what Minister Mkunu is going to have to answer to. Brown Mokgotsi struggling to push back against what appeared to clearly be phone calls in December last year that were too close for comfort to the ultimate decision for him to issue that particular letter. Do you believe that Minister Mkunu has formidable answers, I don't know how else to phrase it, formidable answers to push back against what the Commission appears to have against him?
Colin, it'd be interesting to know what he's going to say. But let's say that his answers are plausible and we believe it, so it's credible, in a sense that he, in his capacity as the Minister of Police, took this decision without any influence or duress or under duress from anybody. Let's just say that. The bigger question is, and this is why both the Commission and the ad hoc committee were started, we need to look at criminality, political interference and corruption within public institutions. That's what we're going to look at. So part of the question, remember, we started this with say, as the Minister of Police, what decision-making remit do they have when it comes to so-called operational matters of the South African Police Service? And unless we, so let's find in this question that Mkunu is guilty of interfering, of trying to interfere. He loses his job. He may face criminal charges. That's a fait accompli. Let's just say that's gone. What we should be worried about is the next person that comes into this role, will they be able to repeat that? What do we do to put right the situation where somebody, as designated as a minister, exercises their executive authority in a way that benefits and furthers the interest of criminal enterprises like criminal cartels? That's the bigger question.
Zianda, you are going to help us piece together this, because there are testimonies from people such as General Sintumule, who appears to tell the inquiry that Sibia told them that Mkunu's, rather Kumalo's people, bayang jaha. What was that in reference to? Why are people chasing after Sibia? Who are these people? Does Minister Senzo Mkunu know Kat Matlala? Was Kat Matlala effectively running Mkunu's ambitions of becoming president of the ANC? What do we know so far?
Sure, Xoli, there's a lot to piece together, but at the center of it is Kat Matlala, because even if you go back to what witnesses A and B told us, they said that, you know, Kat Matlala was paying Shedrick Sibia, and they even told us about an estate that, you know, how the drop-offs would take place, and he'd stand by a circle and collect the money. And there's a whole lot of stories that have come out about Sibiya. I mean, there's a voice recording that Kat Matlala at the ad hoc committee says is manipulated, where Kat Matlala says, "Daimano rata chelete," which means this guy loves money too much, right? There's that that's been said about Sibiya and him getting kickbacks in order for the issue around this SAPS 360 million rand tender issue to be sorted out. So clearly, there are several themes here. Kat Matlala was reaching out to all and sundry about getting this 360 million rand tender. He allegedly paid lots of people, including Bheki Cele, allegedly, and as well as allegedly Fani Masemola. But what is also very abundantly clear in the testimonies last week and the week before is that the upper echelons of the South African Police Service are highly divided. You listen to Mary Motsepe, she heads up, you know, the serious and organized crime units, which would have the murder and robbery units underneath her. She seems to have been on the side of Sibiya. You listen to Kosi Sentumule, the Lieutenant General, and you listen to Dumsani Khumalo. They seem to be almost singing from the same hymn sheet. Now, I'm going back to your question about that conversation she had with Cedric Sibiya. Sentumule was very honest to say she refers to Dumsani Khumalo as her brother because she was born Kosi Khumalo and then she became Kosi Mavimbela, and then I think Sentumule is her marital surname. So when she speaks to Dumsani Khumalo, she refers to him as, they refer to each other as Buti no Sisi. Now, that became important. That's how she started off her testimony, because later on, when there's this issue around the directive to disband the political killings task team and the issue around immediately, because Cedric Sibiya then gave a directive that this must happen within 7 days. But there was no operational plan, there was no wounding down plan, and Lieutenant General Kosi Sentumule was abundantly clear that you can't just stop an operation. There's the DPP and KZN that needed to be briefed, and so many other dynamics. And then she showed the commission, or shared with the commission, WhatsApp messages between herself and Sibiya, where she's saying, you know, almost pleading with him to say, I will never let you down, I'll never work against you. And then Sibiya responds to say, it's very unfortunate to be chased by small people. So it just tells you about how highly divided the relationships became because of this one directive. That's what Lieutenant General Kosi Sentumule was testifying against. He seemed, Cedric Sibiya, that is, to be intimating that the crime intelligence boss, Lieutenant General Dumsani Khumalo, was using the political killings task team to almost deal with their own personal squabbles. And this is what I think is also a key theme linked to what Eldred de Klerk is saying, that what happens going forward, because it has been clearly, it's gotten personal, and the apparatus of the police are being used against each other at that level, but the victims of crime are being let down.
Eldred de Klerk, we have run out of time, but we've now got to wrap it up, because the rationale behind disbanding the political killings task team, as Yanda so plainly put it, trying to piece these together, that there clearly was no plan. And so it doesn't explain this hurried process when there actually is no plan to unwind this thing and what is going to come in its place for it. You then have key characters around this, such as Mr. Matlala, who testified at the ad hoc committee this week. And the people he appears to implicate are those, as Zianda puts it, that seem to straddle that line of division, that the likes of Muanazi, I had meetings with him, and there are clear people that Kat Matlala implicates, and there are those that he appears to shield. And I'm using those words very carefully, appears to shield, because we can't be definitive about this until either of these probes tell us what their conclusions are. So, again, I come back to you with this question, that is it fait accompli that Minister Mchunu is probably not going to come back from this, just based on what we know so far?
Well, I think as a minister, he would like to leave a legacy and say, I left the office voluntarily. I didn't leave under a cloud, and I'm not facing any criminal conviction. He chose to try to step aside. Apparently that was prevented. He was asked to stay. He's in that position now. The problem we have with these allegations is that they stay with you, and it's very difficult to refute. Because the one thing we should ask Kat Matlala is who trained him. If we know that Brown Mokgotsi is in fact a contact agent, Kat Matlala is in a whole new league. And it is because he's very clear, very calm, and he's very happy to say, I can actually say these things with a certain level of confidence, and that it will prove to be so. And if in fact we take him merely by his word, and his posture and his demeanor and his very calm way of dealing with things, and even rebuking MPs if need be, then yes, it seems like it's a fait accompli that the minister, on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever he appears, depending on how the schedule goes as scheduled, will have a tough time to actually answer very straight and very forward, because whatever he say, there may be a rebuttal by other witnesses.
To both of you, I have to say thank you very much. Time is always the enemy here. I could have had such a thoroughgoing conversation about those phone calls between Brown Mokgotsi and Minister Mchunu. This is a person whom he claims to not know, merely as a comrade. But I know I'm provoking you. You don't need to respond to that. Senior politics reporter Ziana Ngobo and policing and global security specialist Aldred de Klerk. So I hope that gives you a taste of what's to come this week.